viewers. I'm Sami Sivello from Last Month TV and welcome to our program. In this episode, we are bringing you the Reader's Monthly Book Discussion. This month, we are diving into the book Nigeria Dancing on the Brink by John Campbell. Join us as we explore this book with Muhammad Ahmad, who will be leading this month's review. We would love to hear your thoughts and questions, so please leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with others. Thank you.
Not to be here, but still, you can submit your name so that you can join the club and you keep on coming. Same time, same day, inshallah. Thank you so much.
As every month, we are given a book to read, and after everyone read the book, we'll come here and have a review and have a discussion on the book. And today we are going to have a book review, and our reviewer is one of the members here. He's an avid reader. Today he will review the book Nigeria on the Brink. It's a book that portrays some of the things happening in our country. So please, let's give him a sound round of applause as we approve the speech.
For giving me the opportunity to stand before this important audience to review this important book, Nigeria Dancing on the Brink, which is the book of the month. My name is Muhammad Ahmad. It's my singular honor and privilege standing before you. And before I continue, let me share this experience with you. It was in 2016 that I traveled to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for Lesser Hajj. And my experience, the experience that I want to share with you is it happened at the Masjid of Haram. During Maghrib prayer, I was praying next to one guy, and that guy was actually from Pakistan. So I was praying next to him. So immediately after Maghrib prayers and after all the adhkars, he looked at me. By looking at me, he knew that I must be an African. He asked my name and my country. So after mentioning my name to him and the country, he was so impressed. He was so excited, and I asked him why. He said that was the first time that he was meeting a Nigeria physically, because he read a little about Nigeria on a particular book that I cannot remember the title now. But he found out that Nigeria, in the book, that is a blessed nation that is blessed with both human as well as natural resources. And based on the book that he read, he found out that despite all the natural resources that Allah has blessed us with, our people are still living in extreme poverty. So he wanted to have some answers from a Nigerian, not from a book that he read. So we discussed in length between that period from Maghrib to Isha about Nigeria, about the human resources that we are blessed with and the natural resources, and why is it that Nigeria is so rich and yet our people are living in extreme poverty. So what I'm trying to bring out of the story is that Nigeria is a country that is well known globally, because if you look at the number of medical doctors that are in the Saudi Arabia, and they are doing well, they are more than 1,000. If you look at UK, US, so we have number of engineers and doctors that have excelled in their different profession in different countries of the world. So coming back to our business of the day, Nigeria Dancing on the Brink. So these are the table of contents that we are going to discuss today, inshallah. So we are going to discuss about the author, a brief history of Nigeria, summary of the book, Nigeria-US bilateral relationship, why are Nigerians still poor, role of anti-graft agencies in Nigeria, new words that I have learned, quotes from the book, lesson learned and impact of the book, and then concluding thought and recommendation, and then finally references. This is the author. Who is this John Campbell? Nigeria Dancing on the Brink was actually written by John Campbell, who happened to be the US ambassador to Nigeria from May 2004 to July 2007. And prior to his appointment as U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, he happened to be the political counselor that was based in Lagos before the capital of Nigeria was moved from Lagos to Abuja, which was from 1988 to 1990. And he is also a writer because he has authored several books and numerous articles that has to do with Africa in general, and then Nigeria to be specific. So he has passion about Nigeria because most of his writings, were centered towards, African policy and Nigeria in particular. And he is a senior fellow for Africa Policy Studies at the Conference on Foreign Council on Foreign Relations. History of Nigeria. The reason why I am starting with the history of Nigeria is the fact that this book is all about Nigeria. It portrays some of the things that happened right from independence till date. So Nigeria, as we know, is situated in West Africa, on the continent of Africa, and it shares border with Francophone countries like Niger Republic, Cameroon, Chad, as well as Benin. And then we have 36 states and the FCT, and the country is divided into 6 geopolitical zones, while we have Southwest, and the rest, so as not to waste much of our time. If you look at these images, we have, like, how many people can you see on this image? 6, right? And this is Herbert Macaulay, this is Azuke, this is Sardauna, Awolo, and this is Tafawa Balewa. So I don't actually know this person. I don't know if maybe somebody have an idea about this. What I'm saying is that these are the people that have guided Nigeria to, to independence. Herbert Macaulay also guided Nigeria to independence, but he happened to die before, October 1960. But these are 4 individuals. They are the ones that have actually guided Nigeria down to 1st October 1960. Summary of the book. The book was published by Roman and Littlefield Publishers, and it has 211 pages. And the book is also non-fictitious because it's based on real facts, events and people. So it portrays some of the things that have actually happened in Nigeria, be it from political space, religious space, as well as economic perspective. And this book, like I said, is just 211 pages. It's not much. I read this book like 3 times before standing before you. So the first time I read this book, I finished it within 7 days, because it has become a norm for me now that I can finish a book within 7 days. A book that is between 211 pages to 300 pages, I can finish it within 7 days. So it's not much. And this book is worth reading, because I found it very interesting, because I have passion for Nigeria, and he has given us a deep, clear understanding and insight about Nigeria, and to the reason why we are finding it very difficult to develop as a nation, despite the fact that we are blessed with numerous, natural resources as well as human resources. And the book was published in 2011. Like I said, Nigeria dancing on the brink. It has given us, insight of some of the challenges that Nigeria experienced right from independence, and at the time that he wrote this book, some of the critical factors that were standing on our way to greatness as a nation. Even though in the book he said Nigerians have actually mastered the art of dancing to the brink without actually falling, because some elites in Nigeria are of the view that Nigeria is too big, to fail as a state, because most of the things that he said are true. He talked about the oil theft that was happening in the Niger Delta region, which is oil-based region that is generating income to Nigerian government, and the shady deals that were happening between relevant stakeholders in the oil sector, the top government officials, the governors of that state, as well as some of the staff of the NNPC. And we also talk about the inequality that exists between the rich, between the haves and the have-not in Nigeria, which part of the contributing factor that Nigeria is not achieving what it's supposed to achieve as a nation. So we also talk about religious perspective, where he described Nigeria as a divided house as a result of ethnic and religious issues, where politicians use that platform to divide Nigerians for their own gain at the detriment of Nigeria as well as Nigerians. So I found the book very interesting. It's good that if you happen not to read it after this session, you go back and read it, because it's all about Nigeria. It will give you a clear information, knowledge about Nigeria. What are the challenges that Nigeria was facing at the time when he was the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, and what are the issues that we are still facing after he relinquished his position as U.S. ambassador in 2007. So I like to recommend the Readers Hub for selecting this book to be the book of the month of August, because it's all about Nigeria. And one of the good things about books, I never traveled to Niger Delta region, but I have traveled to Niger Delta region through this book, because I saw what is happening through this book, but physically I was not there. Then coming back to this, why are Nigerians still poor? Why are Nigerians still poor? That was one of the questions that a friend that I met in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who was from Pakistan, asked, why are we so poor despite numerous natural resources that God has blessed us with? If you look at Zamfara State, the insecurity that is actually happening in Zamfara State is associated with the natural resources that Allah has blessed us with. Because I read an article, and that article stated that the gold deposit that is in Zamfara State and Binningwari in Kaduna State is better than the gold deposit that is in Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and South Africa combined together in terms of quality and quantity. But Zamfara State is rated one of the poorest states in Nigeria. That to tell you that we have all it takes to truly be the giant of Africa. There is this notion that Nigeria is the giant of Africa. Yes, it's true. Are we truly? Is it true that we are the giant of Africa, where we don't have potable drinking water, where we don't have stable power supply? Why did we get it wrong? Our problems is associated with bad governance, because in the book he said, in all the problems stated, that the reason why Nigerians are poor, despite the country is blessed with mineral resources, to summarize it all, is bad governance, corruption in all sectors of the economy, political instability. We have all the resources, but due to bad governance in the country, we do not have leaders that care for Nigerians and the Nigeria as a nation, which is very unfortunate. And I want to also use this opportunity to call on all of us, because at Readers Hub, what I see, we are the leaders of tomorrow. We are the future leaders. So we start to change our mindset to think how we can, change things for the better in our own capacity, and at the time when we happen to be in that position. Because those that are political office holders now, definitely with time they will expire, and it will be time for us to come and take over from them. So corruption, bad governance is one of the contributing factors that Nigeria is yet to be developed. Then we have international conspiracy against Nigeria, even though the author did not discuss about in this point. He tried to explain that the international relationship between Western world and Nigeria is mutual. which I am against it personally. Personally, I'm against it. Even though we talk about the relationship that exists between Nigeria and United States of America at the time when Olusegun Obasanjo was still the president, and at the time when George W. Bush was the president of United States of America, because at that time Nigeria contribute large number of troops to United Nations and other peacekeeping operations in the world. So now Bush have seen Nigeria as strategic partner in Africa, so that Nigeria will be where the United States cannot make it at the global stage. And they also talk about that Obasanjo dominates the book, because if you happen to read the book, you find out that the dominant character is former President Olusegun Obasanjo, which I think the reason could be that it was at the time that the author was the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria when Olusegun Obasanjo was still the president in his second term. And he also talked about the third term agenda of Olusegun Obasanjo, which almost collapsed Nigeria as a nation. Because if you could remember, Obasanjo wanted to amend the Nigerian constitution so that he becomes an indefinite president, even though his agenda was finally defeated at the National Assembly, and he did not succeed. And I forgot to also tell you that we talk about June 12th. It was during Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida in 1993 that he organized, when he planned to hand over to civilian government, there was election which was contested at the presidential level. MKO Abdullah contested against Lord Bashir Tofa. All of them are late now. And then that election was perceived to be one of the free, fair and credible election in the history of Nigeria. And unknown to Nigerians, Babangida finally cancelled that election. And he said in the book that if you could remember, for some of us that happened to be, to know what have actually happened at that period, there was a chaos, most especially in the southwestern region of the country, particularly Lagos, because they are not happy that the election was cancelled, and they have that feeling that it was cancelled because the northern elites, the Hausas, do not want a Yoruba man to be the president. Even though IBB have given his fair reason to why he was able to cancel that election, even though that he was manipulating Nigerians to believe why he canceled that election. And in the book, he also talked about the illness which have consumed late President Yar'Adua. Yar'Adua died in 2010 at the time when general election was about to happen in 2011. And then there was this issue that power must be maintained in the north. Now that Goodluck have succeeded Yar'Adua, and the northerners felt that no, it is time for us. Yar'Adua did not complete his term and he died. So it is time for the northerners to continue and fill their own position as president, and then before the power is then returned to the south. Then he also talked about the role of anti-graft agencies in Nigeria. If you could remember, it was during Obasanjo that he established two agencies with the purpose of fighting corruption in Nigeria, so as to give Nigeria a good image at the international level. So he firstly established ICPC. ICPC, what is the full meaning of ICPC? Yes, thank you, my brother. Independent Corrupt Practices Commission. And then finally he established EFCC. What is the full meaning of? Yes, and the pioneer chairman of this, I think, was Nuhu Ribadu. And this one, I think it was Barrister BC Akambi from Kogi State, even though he's late now. So Obasanjo established these agencies to fight corruption in Nigeria, even though there is this argument that Obasanjo used these agencies to persecute his political opponents that went against his movement, for third term agenda. whatever the case might be, they also said that he was informed by one of the FBI agents in the US that EFCC was one of the best law enforcement agencies in West Africa at that time. But unfortunately, many people feel that Obasanjo utilized this platform to persecute his political opponents that went against his political agenda of manipulating the constitution so as for him to remain life president. Then one good thing about reading, in fact, there is one of the good things about reading is you always learn new words. No matter how good you are, you must come across some of the words that you do not know. These words may be familiar to you, but to me, I was, meeting them for the first time when I read this book. For example, you have sorcery, you have ensconce and sclerosis. Sorcery, I think the author used this term when he described a situation when the governors at the Niger Delta region, particularly the governor of River State, then Sir Peter Odumi, that they use militants in the Niger Delta region to intimidate their political opponents. And then at the end of the day, if they settle in office, sorcery meaning that it's a magic or a witchcraft or evil spirit that is used by the militant in the Niger Delta region, because he used this term to describe one of the militant leader Tompolo, that he used magic and sorcery to protect himself and his members against the bullets of his enemies. And then ensconce was actually used when he described a situation that the political leaders in that region. He cited an example with Peter Otten that they used this militant leader to their advantage. And unfortunately, when they finally settle in office, they tend to discard this rascal. And unfortunately, this rascal comes back to the society negatively and causing all forms of violence in the state. And then sclerosis and the rest. These are some of the new words that I have learned. Then some of the quotes. These are some of the quotes from the book. Obafemi Awolowo, during independence period, described Nigeria as mere geographic expression, not a nation, because we know it was in 1914 that Nigeria was amalgamated into what we have now as a Nigeria. The southern protector and the northern protector were, matched together to be, a Nigeria. And political elites then were not happy. So I think that was the reason why we said the name Nigeria is just geographic expression, not a nation. And then we have Mugabe option. And this quote was actually used by the author when he described, if you could remember, Robert Mugabe, the former Zimbabwe's president, manipulated the political system in his own country to remain power indefinitely. He manipulated. So Obasanjo wanted to adopt this Mugabe option in Nigeria, and it was defeated at the National Assembly because Obasanjo wanted to remain as life president, whether we like it or not. And finally, it was defeated at the National Assembly. So that is what we call Mugabe option. And then we also have Mandela option. We know Mandela has given power voluntarily. When he was asked to run for the third time, he said, no, there are well-energetic people that can take over from us. And that option is pure adherence to the rule of law in that country. And then lesson learned. One of the lessons that I have learned in the book is the importance of good governance, because in all the problems that we have stated, one of the major contributing factors to our problem is, lack of good governance. And now there is need for importance of good governance, because good governance is the only solution to our problems as a nation. We are where we are today as a result of bad governance. Most of the leaders that we are having do not care for Nigeria as well as Nigerians. And unfortunately, these are the set of people that have enjoyed free education during their time. But look at the educational sector, look at our economy, Look at our security, which is very unfortunate as a nation. And the author stated that in the book, in 1960s, Nigeria was at the same economic level of development with countries like Malaysia, Singapore, and Taiwan. Look at these three countries. Can you compare them with Nigeria in terms of their economy, education, and everything? Look at Singapore. And then economic diversification. One of the lessons that I have also learned is that there is need for a government of Nigeria to diversify its sources, because it is very unfortunate that Nigeria heavily depends on the oil for its own revenue, and these prices keep on fluctuating and is affecting the economy and the budgeting aspect. I don't think that the government have diversified into agriculture, which we know at the early stage, because I could remember Sheikh Pantani during one of his sermons, he was stating that Netherlands as a nation, the money that's revenue that Netherlands generated, I think last year he said it amounted to $150 billion from agriculture, more than 5 times than what Nigeria have generated from the oil sector. And it has been reported that an average Netherlands can generate up to 30 to 50 million naira if converted to Nigerian currency value from farming within his backyard, as a way of adopting what we call smart farming. So agriculture is one of the best way. And we also have a goal that we have talked about. They said the goal is that the state can sustain Nigeria for 50 years because it's more than $15 billion. But look at what is happening. The foreign nationals they are stealing our gold at the detriment of Nigeria, in connivance with some of the elites that have brought these companies to do this shady things. And look at what is happening in Maiduguri, Borno State. I read an article that stated that there is one resource, natural resource, that is in Maiduguri, which I cannot remember now. That natural resource is one of the contributing factor of insecurity in that region, because that region, the deposit that is there is 100 times than the oil that is in the Delta region. That natural resource in Maiduguri is better than the oil that we are talking about. So we can have multiple streams of income as a nation, not to heavily rely on this income. And many countries like South Korea, look at South Korea. South Korea was regarded as one of the poorest countries in the world, but now their economy is based on knowledge. So there is need for us to move from what we call a fossil fuel based economy to knowledge based economy, because we have the human resources. Nigeria is not about natural resources. Look at the case of Zelani Ali, who is the brain behind electric car in the whole world, one of the best automotive designer in the world, and one of the senior director at the General Motors company, one of the best automotive company in America, and one of the best automotive company in the whole world. So we have many Nigerians that have excelled abroad. We have number of them. So we can revitalize our educational sector for us to be able to harness that resource. Then we have security and stability. Part of our problem that we find it very difficult to make a meaningful progress is insecurity. If we have a well-secured nation, if the government is able to protect the lives and properties of our citizens, I think Nigeria will be a better country to be. Then impact of the book, it enhanced understanding, because if you read this book, it will give you a clear information of what have actually happened during the time that the author was the ambassador, and what is currently happening, and then increase awareness. If you happen to read the book, it will increase awareness of what is actually happening in the country. And then concluding thought and recommendation. I found the book to be very interesting, and that's why I have given it 4 stars. It's just that there is nothing that is 100%. I can give it 5 stars, but I decided to give it 4 stars because the book is all about Nigeria. So we need to know about our own country. one of my critiques about the book is that the author have done well in trying to give a clear information about Nigeria, but unfortunately he tried to limit himself on the negative aspect of Nigeria, which we all know, despite our own challenges as a nation, we still have a positive aspect that the author can capture in his book, even though the book has been updated. Like I said earlier, it was first published in 2011. So I don't know if in the updated version of the book he has captured that positive aspect of Nigerians and Nigeria as a nation. That's my critique about the book, and these are some of the selected references. And then it's good to be reading the book of the month when it is being shared in our platform, at Studios platform. And you please read the September book of the month. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for this amazing and wonderful review. Please, let's join hands together and appreciate him again. One good thing about a book review is you get to know some things that you couldn't comprehend yourself, or you get to know an added advantage or added value to the contents of the book. And during his review, he gives some articles, some data that he captured, and trying to connect those data with the contents of the book. The issue of bad governance. Any country that doesn't have good governance will not thrive. There are so many countries in the world that were at same level with Nigeria, but now are just like my two hands. Because when the Katsina Steel Rolling was constructed, it was constructed in India and Nigeria. But I'm telling you, the steel rolling that is in India today is constructing ship crafts, ship parts, airplanes, motor vehicles, but our own steel rolling is just producing reinforcement, and the reinforcement is even substandard. So any country that needs to thrive should have a good governance. I remember Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the finance minister of Nigeria, one of the brightest and successful women even in the world. Now she's the head of World Trade Organization. She said, we are trivializing corruption, that's why we are not getting it right. As a civil servant, let's say a lawyer, you are given a job to do, not a private lawyer. If you are being taken to court and you don't have a lawyer, you are entitled to one by the NBA, that's Nigeria, NBA, National Bar Association, right? Yeah. So if he did a work for you and defended you and you give him money, is that corruption or not? But we normalize it as just as it's an appreciation. A civil servant does his work and you reward him is a form of corruption. So, and the issue of EFCC, many things have their good sides and their bad sides. When Obasanjo created EFCC, the current NSA was given EFCC. When he started his job, he said that he was doing his job small by small, and he got to the time that he even opened a file on his boss. In Nigeria, if you are doing something, or you are being given a tax to do by your boss, and that person happens to be a victim, not all people will go into that case. And he said when he started doing the job well, they see him as a threat, they blackmail him, and so many other factors, even though that anyone that will say something about himself will surely give the good sides of himself. So we cannot say what is really happening. And After the Second World War, Japan was, thrashed by the United States. But now Japan was one of the countries among the global leaders in technology and science. Where is Nigeria? What is Nigeria doing? Before the oil, Nigeria relies on agriculture, and we are thriving everywhere. But now there are countries like Ethiopia. They have nothing, only their airline, and they sustain themselves. We are one of the countries that has the most mineral resources. Almost everything you can find it in Nigeria, but we are not utilizing those things. Thank you very much, Malam Mohammed. This review was super review. I think we should join hands and give him another applause. Okay, now for those that read the book, any comments or question, and also for clarification, he is not the author, so the questions should not be pointed to him. The questions should be put on the table so that everyone will contribute. So 1, 2, 3, 4 from the ladies. 4? Just 4 people? Okay, thank you. Please pass it to the first person. Okay.
As far as we want to change the global picture of Nigeria in the world, we need to start writing on our own country. Because if you look at us, the reading culture is not there. Even now, the writing culture is also not there. We are not reading. If you make a post and write something very valuable, people will not read it. And the message that you are trying to pass will not be there. And people are not even writing. And all these countries that we are seeing, the foreign countries that we are mentioning, that they are doing well, they are this, they are that, I'm telling you, they are not perfect. They are only having a functional system. But if you go deep into their own history, they have their own corruption, they have their own problems. My own is more of an advice. I believe it's time for us to start writing on our own society and our own nation in general. That is what I have.
Good evening, leaders. Mine is just a commendation and at the same time a verdict. When we look at, okay, first of all, I have to commend our presenter or reviewer. He has done extremely well. The presentation was marvelous and insightful. So my verdict goes thus: if we look our country, if we carefully consider the endowed resources that we have, we will surely recognize that the only problem that we are facing in Nigeria is human resource. We have almost all types of resources. I think Nigeria is the most richest country in the world with regards to this resource endowment. We almost have all types of natural resources, starting from the mineral resources, wind resources, solar resources, human resources, etc. But the issue is, when we talk about the human capacity of our leaders, their mentality, their ability to differentiate between right and wrong, do the right thing at the right time, is where we get the problem. So to solve this problem, I think first of all the responsibility is on us. You see, I think we are not the only youths in this area, right? There are many of us who are our age mates, but they are not here. Most of our youths engage in useless things now: social media, playing football, etc. So I think the best way to curtail the issue, first of all, we as advocates, we have to start from somewhere else. Our responsibility to make a kind of awareness, self-awareness, environmental awareness, to know the type of resources that we even have in our environment. There is one scenario that happened. A person from Zampara was telling me of how they are not environmentally aware of the resources that they have. That, like what our super elder here mentioned, Zamfara is endowed with gold resources. So most of the people living there don't know that they have that type of resource. So we can't progress like this. First of all, we have to know the environmental contents that we have in our environment, and then we should have the human capacity to utilize them, and then improve the human capacity of our leaders. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Malam.
So you said this book was published in 2011. So I just want to ask, from that time to date, that's around 13 years. So are Nigerians still dancing on the brink, or you have fallen off the brink? How would you compare? Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening once again. I am Al-Mustafa Abdulhamid. First of all, I would like to thank our able presenter, Malam Muhammad, for this wonderful as well as an astonishing presentation. We have really learned a lot, even though also I was unable to read the book, but we have had an insight about the content of the book and what all it contains. First of all, I would like to, Muhammad, you talk about Japan. Japan, yeah. I watched one video of the former emir of the present emir of Kano, Muhammad Sunusi. He was narrating a story of about 60 to 70 years back, that a United States advisory was telling investors, just in a conference, he was telling investors that Nigeria had a better economic future than Japan. Yes, but the question here is, where are you today and where is Japan? Yes, it's not about one government, it's not about two governments, it's about decades of the people. Our leaders throw opportunities, and yet we are where we are. Societies. So we have to be ready to bring about the change we want to see in our country as we the future leaders. We have to develop the mindset that we are going to take Nigeria to a better and better place. We have to develop this mindset. Then finally, I was motivated and I inspired with this quote: "Reading is a discount ticket everywhere." Yeah, this reminds me of a story of a boy. I think it was Emerson that narrated the story of a boy who happens to be a student in one school where children from the rich family meet in the school. The boy is from a poor family. So during holiday, kids from rich family, they used to go for abroad, they used to go to abroad for tour and other things. But the boy, his family are not that capable enough to sponsor him to go for a tour abroad. But all he did was, before vacation, he met with his friends and they told him that they are going to UK, United Kingdom, if I can remember. Then the boy, all he did was, during his holiday, he spent all his holiday reading books about United Kingdom. So when they come back after holiday, the boy was also able to contribute when those friends were discussing about United Kingdom. That is it. This is the power of reading. So that is it. And also the presenter said that he has never been to Niger Delta region, but to read the book, he knows more things about Niger Delta region. That is one of the power of reading, one of the importance of reading. So we should all endeavor to read more books. Thank you very much, Adam and Al-Mustafa Abdulhamid.
I was also asking myself while reading the book, that why must he be the one? Why must be, an American be the one to write about ourselves? We should be the one to write ourselves. And this is also an issue, because meaning that these foreign nationals that are in Nigeria, they know so many things that we don't know as Nigerians. That's why they know the resources that are here in Katsina and we don't know. And they are controlling these resources from the US, and even the government of the state don't know. So they know every part of the country. And like you said, in the book, he cited an example. I was so impressed that he talked about how Sheikh Malam Jafar Adam was assassinated while leading a dawn prayer in his mosque. And he said that the following day he met a cabinet minister who was a Muslim, and before they are having a meeting, and before the meeting he first paid his condolence to the minister. And unfortunately, he said the minister was not even aware of such high profile murder, which was capable of also bringing down Nigeria to its brink. and that did not happen. And then he said that's why he knew that there is a wide gap or disconnection between top government officials as well as the masses in general. There is a disconnect between the political office holders as well as the citizens. And coming back to your question is that yes, if you look at this book was first published in 2011. The only security problems that we had at that time was the issue of Niger Delta, oil theft in the Niger Delta region, and then issue of Boko Haram, because he talked about Boko Haram, how it started, how it started in Maiduguri, and then from that time there was no issue of kidnapping as well as banditry that is now affecting northwestern part of the country. So that to tell you that we are still dancing on the brink, even though he said Nigerians have actually mastered the art of dancing to the brink without actually falling, so that they dance back. You see, so the problems have worsened from that period to this. And look at how much was dollar then, how much are you buying fuel, PMS per liter then, and compare it, look at the level of inflation in the country. So you don't need to be told that yes, we have not make a meaningful progress as a nation. Rather, the issues have worsened over time, and they are still escalating, because at that time there is no issue of banditry. Like I said, look at what is happening in Zamfara State. The gold that the foreign nationals are stealing from us. And in my own opinion, I said it before, I'm saying it now, and I will say it. Part of our problem is international, the Western world. They should leave us alone. Let us address our problems in an African style, because they are benefiting or stealing our resources at the detriment of Nigerians. They should leave us alone. They are contributing to our problems. I read an article. Look at, everybody was happy when Dangote have built his own refinery. At least that Nigeria will not, take its crude oil abroad, for refinery and what have you. And I read an article that said that vested interests are trying to sabotage that processes from top government officials, from Western world, as some members of the NNPC. You know why? The article said that if Dangote refinery is fully activated in the next 1 to 2 years, more than 50 refineries in Europe have no option than to shut down business. Do you think they will accept it? And they transact more than $17 billion every year from Africa, close to amounts that Dangote spent to build his own refinery. So I am of the view that the Western world, are part of our problem, unless we be aware with these people and try to do our things the way it should be. Because I may not have problem in my family and expect a third party to come and say this is what we should do, this is what we should do. Even this IMF policy that are giving us, they impose policies that are disruptive. Even this fuel subsidy removal of a thing was imposed upon Nigerians by the IMF. Look at the structural adjustment policy, where the author even stated about it during the Babangida. It was imposed by IMF, and many people believe that that was the genesis of the Nigeria's problem, right from Babangida when he introduced that policy. And there was a referendum before that policy was was implemented, and the political elites in the state had actually advised Babangida against implementing such structural adjustment policy. Unfortunately, he didn't listen to them. He went ahead and implemented that policy, and my dad believed that that was the genesis of the problem of Nigeria. And only God knows, unless we change our mindset as Nigeria, then there's going to be a problem. And this book is good for youth to be reading it. At least we are the lead. I believe that the leaders of tomorrow, whether at the national level or at the state level, they are the members of Leaders Hub community.
Thank you very much, our reviewer. Well, here is these international organizations. We are just left to them. If we want them to be out now, we have dates doesn't have. Go to National Bureau of Statistics and ask them so many data, but you can find it in abundance on the internet. Maybe United Nations, World Health Organization. So there is a lot to do if we want them out, and it's just like a business of the elites. And also regarding writing, there is one of the greatest authors we have in Africa, not even Nigeria, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She's from the southeast. She said when she went to the United States, her roommate already felt pity to her because she believed someone African coming from Nigeria was just someone to be, to have sympathy on. And she was even surprised that even herself, when she was very young, because she was into reading books on the Western world, so all her books, she started writing at an early age. So all her books were centered towards United Kingdom, United States, just the Europe and the American countries, because that's what she's saying. There are so many countries in Africa where they are even better than some of the countries our people are going for vacations. Places like Namibia, places like Tanzania, even Senegal. We have so many islands, and just because we don't know about them, we will go to Maldives, we will go to Indonesia. So that's it. I think I would do this recommendation. There is a content creator named Tayo Aina. All he's doing is portraying the beauty of Africa. He will go to a country and explore the country. One of my best content creators, because he is just a Pan-African. If not, he will not do that. The Western media is not showing the good about ourselves, so it is left for us to show the good sides of ourselves. Thank you very much. I think the section is here. I'll give him the chance to say one or two things, and then we'll close the session. Thank you very much.
I always used to say that whenever you read a book, don't consume the entire content. You have to develop a critical mind, because some of the content in the book may not be good for you. We have our religion, we have our tradition. So you have to always try to balance the content and your inner self. So it's not good for you to just consume everything. You have to be critical. I always try to tell our viewers to look for something that you can be critical of. That is how you develop and become better, by being critical, because that gives you the opportunity to develop a new model. That is why we are so backward. We just consume everything to the point that we forget ourselves. If you look at the development coming from abroad, when the new trends just come in, we just dump everything behind. I remember one of my colleagues, he traveled to the US. He was an engineer, a building engineer, and he said he went there for a conference. So when it was his time to make his own presentation, he decided to make his entire presentation based on our local building materials and how our building structures used to be then. And he said the entire place, everyone was just fascinated. They just couldn't understand how the technology using clay to build huge structures. So instead of us to develop that technology, we just dump it entirely. So now you hardly see a house with Zori. Right? Where do you find Zori now? We don't. And even the mud structures, they are very good for our environment. Part of the global challenges we are having now, the climate change, these modern structures, they do emit carbon dioxide, and they are affecting our environment. But what if we have developed our previous technology, we have updated it using the same mud? We wouldn't be here probably. So it's not always good to look outward. No, start from inward, but you have to understand yourself first. That is why it's very important for us to look at our history. Go back to the history, where it all started. And that is how we build and become better. So I do hope that we have developed maybe one or two. I don't know the previous discussion before I came in. I don't know if we have discussed any solution. Suggestions, right? Then that is good. So let us all look at how we can implement these suggestions. Just start small. It doesn't have to be big. Start from where you can. Even if it is just awareness, it can go a long way by telling people this and this and this and this. You'll be surprised. So I would like to stop here. And thank you for coming. And inshallah, we hope to see you again next week for another interesting package. Yes, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. With this, we have come to the end of this program, which was organized by the Readers Hub and brought to you by Last Man TV. You can tell us in the comment section which part of the book interests you the most. Thank you. See you in our next episode.